Testing, testing.
It's the Willy Show.
Starting in 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
So, after a bit of a hiatus, I'm finally back with the Willy Show. It's been a while. Nathan's laughing at my intro's brilliant. It's been a bit of it's been a piss take at work. Like everyone, people will see me, like they'll be like, Willy, like, oh, is that the guy off the Willy Show? Fuck you guys. Like,
that was a cracker of an intro. Well played.
it's short, sweet.
It's short.
People know who it is, know who I am. So everyone who's back on the podcast, I'm here for episode number 20. I've had a couple of weeks off after I did like 5 episodes in a week, so leave me alone. We'll get there. I'm here with a guy we met through a mutual friend. I can't even remember his name, the kid.
Ethan Back.
Ethan Black? Backs? Yeah. Legend.
Did the interview.
The Afghanistan interview thing. Yeah, that was
good.
Fucking sick.
Yeah. How good was you watched? You saw it and all that?
Yeah, I was there at that lunch with you guys.
You rocked up late, completely forgot.
I played it off so I didn't forget. Luke called me. He's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm literally, man. I'm in the kitchen grilling halloumi for breakfast." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Are you coming to lunch?" I'm like, with fucking
full barbecue, all just sitting there waiting for the Maddie to rock up. And
the whole family, everyone, man. I thought it was just you guys. I'm like, I'm happy to pay these guys off. And then, like, I rock up and the grandparents are there and shit. I'm like, hey, dude.
Hey, man. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. You know, I knew this on. I thought it'd just be fashionably late. I'll have a snag.
This epic foul, man. I was starving, mate. You were just like,
man. So good, that kid, he did such a fucking good job of that, eh?
He did. Fantastic job, like especially like just coming off the bat and piecing it all together, man. Like he did a great job telling the full story about servicemen coming home and the struggles faced by a lot of the veterans and all that. Yeah, it was actually a really good watch.
Fucking A. And I was actually thinking about that today, getting ready for this podcast, that I think he gathered the time frame of Afghanistan well too. So like he had the older guy who was SAS.
Yeah.
But he was in like the sort of almost invasion of Afghanistan. Like when we moved in there.
Yes.
And then you and Luke were very central middle of Afghan.
Yep.
In sort of the heat of the battle, I guess. And then coming to me at almost the end of the war, so to speak, and more of a peacetime operation.
Yep.
So I think that's one thing that I was only thinking about it today, but he gathered that sort of 20 years of trip over there really well.
Yeah, like the whole, like you were just saying, like obviously capturing what it was like to be there at the beginning, what it was like when, like, let's say IEDs or the hidden bomb sort of warfare really kicked off pretty heavy, and then obviously when it all wound down into the training. He did a great job.
Fucking oath. And I was telling some guys up at having a brew today, which is work. Brews. Skiving and brews. But I was telling them about, we'll get into this later on, but you being in that trench line with the commandos. And, lads, I'm lying on an IED right now. Let's see how this fucking goes. Shit. The most Australian thing ever. Oi, can't.
That was good. That was a bad day. A bad day.
Well,
it's good, man.
It could have been worse. You're sitting here, so that's good. We'll get into it. So, for those of you I haven't even introduced you, Nathan Bolton is here for the 20th episode of the Willy Show. He's a veteran from the Special Operations Engineer Regiment.
That's it.
SOA, as we know it. 2 trips to Afghanistan, career in, followed by a medical discharge due to some mental health issues mainly and some physical issues. And recently, in the last couple of years, has just been on a fucking, like a skyrocket, chatting, media. You were telling me before, like, oh, it's really hard to break into, and you're telling me about this shit. I'm like, fuck, you're doing more than me.
No way, man. Look at this. You should see the setup we got here, guys. This is actually really good. Like, I'm pretty impressed with Willy. He's done a good job.
Oh, no, it's all smoke and mirrors, mate. It looks like I know what I'm doing, but I probably haven't pressed play. I just went to make sure everything was on red that it's recording.
Key?
Oh, mate, you have no idea. Well, actually, I have no idea.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. So, look, we'll wind it right back to the start of you. Sort of, did you join straight out of high school?
No. I really had no solid intention of joining the army when I first got in.
Yeah.
After high school, first thing I did when I got out, got a certificate 3 in geoscience. I like rocks. They
Nice.
tell a story that most people can't read.
Like
That's the
hard
way
things.
I sell it. It's
So are you saying that the Earth isn't 8,000 years old? Like a certain book says it is?
It could, it could be. Oh, dude. No, I can't do that.
Oh, well, fuck it.
No comment. Then I worked in the mines.
Yep.
My early days was working in the mines, worked in the oil rigs. Man, I was like, 18, 19 years old, man. I was on some big coin.
Yeah, fucking A.
Did a lot of work out at Challenge Gold Mine. I was the senior field assistant for the geos. So pretty much did like a whole lot of just cutting core and going underground. It's like 600 meters underground, just doing a lot of work underground. Almost got killed twice there. Solid.
It's not a good story unless it goes almost got killed. That's how all my good drinking stories go. And I was in the wool shed and almost got killed.
They're only the ones that matter, I guess, aren't they?
Fucking A.
Yeah, and then oil rigs, but good money. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, come home, splurge, have fun and all that. But man, something was missing.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. Something was missing. I couldn't work out what it was. I always wanted, for me, I wanted stories. I wanted, adventure. The one expression that I hate the most is, let's say you go to one of your mates. Oh, dude, how's your week been? Oh, same old, just work stuff. That is one of my most pet hate expressions.
Fuck, I reckon that I said that to you as you walked the door. Hey, you've been really fucking so long.
Because I'm like, if you are that miserable, then go do something about it. Do something different. Change it up. Mix it up. Get out there and do something that actually excites you, motivates you, and makes you enthusiastic about life.
Yeah, fucking A.
And so I quit all that, huge money, and went to Kapuka on $3 an hour, whatever it pretty much equates out to working there. And I was like, for the first time in my life, I was like, man, I'm home. I'm living. Get to do, and start doing things that you normally wouldn't do in any other profession. And for the first time when you come home, people go, hey, Bolts, mate, what's been going on? You're like, oh, dude, you wouldn't believe it. Like as cliche and as small as it sounds, but you're like, to your guys at home in Civvy Street, you're like, yeah, man, I've been shooting like assault rifles and just doing all hardcore stuff, obstacle courses. Bayonet assault course. You're like, yeah, man. So you're doing things that you can actually, pass on and convey to others and actually have, enjoy a bit.
Fucking A. Like, I know you and me and everyone else in the army takes the piss out of Kapuka. Yeah. But compared to civvy life, it's pretty fucking
it's pretty epic, man, when you consider it.
Not too many jobs you strap a fucking big knife to the end of your gun and go stab targets. Like, at the end of the day, it's pretty fucking out there.
But that's the thing, actually, and only looking back now in hindsight can you actually realise, like, let's say going, like, the bayonet assault course. That is the first time where you actually, that is like, for me, the way I see it now, that is like your transition from civilian to soldier.
Yeah.
Because right now, that big, dummy looking fella that you're about to wield your bayonet into, you're like, to you, he is your enemy.
Yeah.
And that is the first moment where you're willing to thrust a knife into your enemy, which just means like, I now can see black and white between friend and foe.
Yeah.
Enemy and friendly. And I think that's the moment where you like, a lot of the light bulbs switch for a lot of people. I've never looked at it like that until recently. So
I agree with that. And it's right at the end of your Kapuka too.
It is, yeah.
Fuck, it's like a week before you march. I reckon that's the last, I reckon, and I can't remember for shit, but I reckon it's the last thing you do before doing a week of parade drill to then march out.
Yeah, it would be roughly around there.
Close to it at least.
I did Kapuka twice.
Oh, really? You're that much of a fucking sack. Why are you on the podcast? I did 2 tours of Afghanistan, but I actually meant Digger James platoon down at Pookies.
Oh, that came out wrong, didn't it? Nah. I actually joined up as a reservist.
Oh,
okay. And then so I went to Kapuka as a reservist. Did the 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is for a reservist. Dude,
I joined the real army.
I have a profound respect for what they do because I'm
not a weekend soldier.
The old Choco, chocolate soldier. Nah, man, I have a profound respect for what they get, how heavy they get flogged in Kapuka.
Yeah,
like 16-hour days of PowerPoint. You just like because they're trying to literally give you 3 months worth of course in 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and it is brutal. And then as soon as but about a week into that, I was like, man, I'm home. Pretty much called up the oil rig saying, hey guys, this is my 2 weeks notice. It's been good, thanks. And then pretty much said, sign me up for regulars.
Yeah.
And they were like, you can either go hang out in Digger James, or you can pretty much finish our course and then start again with another one when they come in. And I was like, what am I?
Oh,
Yeah, so I went through urgency training that first week twice, living the dream.
that fucking sucks.
I almost got charged because I just got back from field.
Yeah.
All my swag, all my sleeping bag was covered in mud from the exercise.
Mm.
And then they did an inspection in the first week, and all my shit was just caked in mud. What do now? They told me I killed my mate. And I was like, yes. How is it that dirt on my sleeping bag is going to influence the health of my mate?
Yeah. There was my pocket undone. Gonna kill my complete section.
Oh man, the stuff that they come up with blows my mind sometimes. But it's that's the army for you.
I love it, man. I've always said if I ever go back to Kapooka, we've been getting right into Generation Kill lately again.
Yeah.
And that one dude who's just like, police that mustache. Like every time we're like, if we ever go to Kapooka, that is just what we're doing. Just that guy the whole time. Yeah. Oh, look at that Elvis. just screaming at people. It makes you want to go there.
Yeah, it does. It does, man. It's done. It's good.
Like, I don't know if I want to go back there though.
Yeah.
So then you marched out of Pookies.
Yeah.
Into
Spent 2 weeks in Holdies, ready to do my initial employment training, my IETs, over at Still Barracks for engineers. And that all went really well. Somehow, I don't know why I'm going to say this, somehow sommed that.
Yeah. Surprised you didn't bring your trophy in, mate.
I should have.
All your mates are sitting there going, 12 minutes, 15 in, he's already fucking mentioned it.
This dude is...
And if you haven't heard, I'm a CFL.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And then went straight up to Darwin once a year.
Yeah.
Started hanging up there. I was up there for about 4 months. It was actually quite a culture shock. Not for any other reason than I was used to working in the mines and oil rigs, like 12-hour days, solid days. Like you get a 30-minute break, and the rest of it you are working hardcore. And then suddenly going up there and
Sitting around the boozer.
the booze and oil and shovels and just the doing a lot of the lame things that you got to do. And I was like, nah, man, I can't do this. And then seeing that most people, quite a few people weren't out there to achieve much more than bare minimum. And I was just like, nah, I'm gonna. And then this big call came over for engineers to go to the Special Operations Engineers Regiment, back then formerly known as Incident Response Regiment.
Yeah.
No one wanted to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Engineers were in short supply because everyone saw the IRR, Incident Response, as a bunch of cockwashers. That's how I was welcomed to the world. They're like, because your focus, we primarily specialised in chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear warfare and advanced decontamination. So a lot of what we do is obviously like scrubbing dudes down after they've been down range in like contaminated environments.
Yeah.
And they're like, that is like, so pretty much no one wanted to go down there and do it. But after 4 months, still on my L plates, not even private proficient yet. I was like, oh yeah, let me go. Sergeant just started laughing at me. He started going, nah, you're not going. You're on your L's. You have to be in for like 18 months to even go. And he goes, if you come back to me in 6 weeks, I might consider it. And came back to him 6 weeks in the dot, had all my paperwork filled out, and he was like, are you joking me? And before we know it, April 2009, I was posted down, passed all the psychological aptitude tests, this physical and all that. And yeah, posted down there and started supporting Tag East by the age of 21.
Fucking hell. So how does the selection go for that? Is there so you have to do a psychological test. I'm guessing that's the same as the SF psych test.
Yeah.
Do you have to do like an SVET or like a selection process?
Back then, man, nah, they were crying out for guys.
Shit.
Like pretty much when I got there, we formed a whole new troop. engineers troop, infantry platoon.
Yeah.
So 30 guys, like a whole brand new troop. We were formed out of new guys. And old man, did shit come rolling downhill fast. Like, because obviously we're the new guys on campus. Absolutely no idea what's going on. New staff, new everything.
And you posted at Holsworthy with Commando?
Yeah, Holsworthy, yeah. So we were literally like, the old expression, fake it till you make it, man. That's all we could do. Like, we just got to like learn on the fly, hope we know what we're doing. Yeah. And I can tell you right now, we didn't.
Are you comfortable with this weapon? Of course I am. It's fucking M4. Okay, that's a HK. Tomatoes, tomatoes, fuck off. That's what you call it. And what year is this actually?
So we're now in 09.
Yeah.
And by then I was 21. So, yeah, good, man.
And that's like the heat of Afghan too. That's like the pinnacle, really.
That's,
that 08 to 14 is the like the pointy end of Afghan.
Yeah. So we spent 12 months supporting TAG East, so domestic counter-terrorism duties. And then we got our call up for pre-deployment training, and you guys are going to Afghan. I don't know. That's like going from a training session to the grand final. Like, that's what everyone wants to do. Like, you just live and breathe. That's all you. Like, everyone's like, so doing all your training. We got out at Woomera, out all Coltana. I think over a period of 2 years, I was only home for like 3 months. Just everywhere training. And finally got our big day. I still remember the day I left on the plane leaving Adelaide, straight on pre-deployment leave. And looking back at my parents, my mum I was walking down the little hallway going onto the plane, and my mum looking back. I could still see her waving. And I guess at that age, you don't think much of it.
Yeah.
And only now do I look back in hindsight and go, holy crap. That was my mum waving off her son potentially for the last time. And only now do I realise and truly understand how hard it would be to be a parent to watch your son go off to war. Yeah, man. And Afghan, we landed.
Rolled in.
Yeah.
And how was it landing in? Well, where'd you fly into?
Well, so landed in Taron Cop, dirt runway back when we got there, our first tour. I still remember the rear tailgate of the plane opening up. The huge 50-degree heat just like shimmering out before you. Like literally huge mountains lining the landscape. Then all this greenery and houses all amidst the desert sort of thing. And then, you look around you and then suddenly all you can see is nothing more than a 2-story Hessian sand wall designed to take the impact of like RPGs and heavy machine gun fire, and the reality hits you. It's like, I'm at war.
I'm guessing that you deployed over there with the 2nd Commando Regiment, which is a pretty battle-hardened regiment.
Yeah.
I'm guessing most of the guys you went there with wasn't their first tour.
Quite a few of them were, definitely on their second tour or more. And we were a new troop of. Yeah,
that's sort of what I was getting at. Did you feel
engineers.
like almost like, fuck, we're the new kids and like we're going to have to keep up? Like these dudes have been, like it's not.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit. They don't get off the plane like, just this shit again. And then
100%.
You guys are like fucking wide-eyed. What the fuck?
Yeah, like we're engineers, so our job is obviously to find the hidden bombs buried in the ground, deal with all the IEDs that knowing people can't find. And obviously none of us had ever found any. None of us have ever had to deal with it. We didn't really know, apart from in training, what we're actually really looking for. And suddenly we're with these battle-hardened commandos, and you're like, oh man, like I remember our first orders group, and they were like talking and flapping their gums. I'm like, I have no idea what's being said. I don't know who I'm meant to be with.
Yeah,
who is my team? Who's X-ray 5? I don't know who that call sign is.
Yeah,
like,
fucking
oh gosh, what do I do? And then literally, you just gotta hope you go out. You don't want to open your mouth. You don't want to look like an idiot. And you go out on these missions. The first mission. And I still remember driving out there, our first tour was like heavy vehicle operations, a lot of vehicles.
So
And
Bushmaster vehicles?
Bushmasters, yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, Bushmaster's like a 15-ton four-wheel drive thing. They're fucking sick, eh?
Yeah.
I love them.
Dude, I got profound respect for those vehicles, man.
I am waiting for them to like get updated and come out for sale. I'm starting a fucking GoFundMe to buy a Bushmaster.
Dude, get in line, mate. I've already planned.
No, we'll get one together.
Done.
We'll just
I'm
cruise and
sold.
drive it
I'm
around.
sold.
They go anywhere, man. Like,
They are,
no
man.
shit.
They are
I think, the best bit of equipment we have in defence. Like, as far as they don't let anyone down. They're brilliant.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And
man.
saved a lot of lives.
On my first tour, I was on an average tour. Teams might find like 2 or 3 IEDs, those hidden bombs buried in the ground. My team alone found over 20.
Fucking hell. And how long period is it? Like a 6 month period?
6 month period.
Yeah.
And of those, the number that rings a bell was like 26. But I'll just say 20 plus.
No, let's go with 26 because then you're finding one a week.
It was ridiculous, man.
Yeah. But when you sit in the RSL when you're 70, we found 3,000.
Well, I actually tried to do the maths, and all I could really count up to was like 18, and then there's a few there missing. But that's 18 like proper confirmed.
Yeah,
that I can remember. And then of those, we had 4 strikes. So strike when a vehicle hits it and blows up. My vehicle exploded that I was driving in. I still remember that one, man.
And what was that like? Because I remember, before I'll cut you off a bit here, driving in a bush as a crew commander over there. And I still remember I was down looking at my map or something. And I remember looking up and seeing a bit of 2x4 across, just a little bit sitting on the road, really weird. I was looking, I just looked up and saw it. And my driver hadn't even seen it. And I'm and I'm in the car oh no. And then I'm just over it. And there's nothing. And for that instant, I just imagined this is going to really hurt. I'm going into this roof. Just that heart skip a beat, man. Yeah. But I've never been crumped in a vehicle.
No.
So that's where the SBU come in.
Yeah,
so there's all these war dog stories.
No, man. But that's where it was quite a. So we were driving, and you hear this call come over the intercom in our cars because it's so loud in there and all that. We all wear headsets so we can hear what the commander's saying. And you hear this: "Search is up." And we're like, oh, yeah, me and my mate will look at each other. It's our turn to get out. Armour comes on. Metal detector comes out. And we're about to step out of the vehicle when you hear this, actually, don't worry about it. And it was a very unusual call by him. We've found quite a few by now. And we look at each other. We're like, oh, no dramas. Sweet. No.
What was that?
If you hesitate, you'd go anyway.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, don't worry about it. And we both sat down. We're like, okay, no worries. We taken off our seatbelts and all that sort of stuff. Vehicle started up, started driving. Boom. Back left tire hit 20 kilos of HME, homemade explosive, ammonium nitrate. Whole back left corner of the car exploded.
Jesus.
Man, I just remember black. Dust. It's quite a chaotic sort of moment. I remember cans of soft drink just exploding. I was covered in Coke, of all things.
Ricky Bobby, you're not on fire.
100%. But then as the dust sort of settled, you can hear the screaming coming from the 2IC at the front, making sure everyone's okay. And then I remember seeing the guy who was sitting on the rear gun. So he's sitting on top of the tire that exploded on the machine gun. And he fell through the roof and he was just gasping for air, man. Man, his eyes wider than the black of night. just staring to nothingness. Yeah, man. Like one moment we're on the verge of sleep, and next we're on the edge of death. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Fucking oath. And how did the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes look after that?
Well, well, we're the engineers, and all the engineers, we all sat in one car. We all sat in the lead vehicle. We tried splitting ourselves up in different vehicles, but it didn't work. And then Commandos got fed up with us, how slow we're leading, and they took over and said, "No, we're going out through the desert." They lasted 10 minutes before they pulled over and said, "Nah, bugger this, you guys can lead." And that's when I'm like, yeah, like, dude, now you get why we're like so hesitant.
Yeah.
But the next 10 minutes, yeah, literally we had to get out. 2 of my mates injured, not critical or anything, but injured. And we had to climb out of the vehicle and start searching our own vehicle as all the commandos sat in their cars waiting for us to clear our own vehicle and work out what to do next. And yeah, pretty much the whole left side of the vehicle was sort of like gone.
Yeah.
But
lucky you're in a fucking Bushmaster.
Dude, those bushies are off the dial, man, what they can do.
Oh.
Like the only reason I'm still here, man, is because of one of those bushies, because we hit another RAD probably about a month later. And I was standing on the Bushmaster hit the back left tire, and I was standing outside of a vehicle. We're in a drop off, like we're all parked up for lunch or something like that. And one of the vehicles was driving along just as we were during this period. It was just driving along because I had to get him to help out with something. And I was standing about 10 meters from it when it drove over an IED. And the only reason I'm still here is because it hit the back left tire, and I was standing on the right-hand side of the vehicle. Yeah. And so the vehicle shielded me from the frag. But, oh, jeez, I was like, blew out my ears. I was like bleeding from my ears. And, oh, man, you want to talk about an earache for about 3 days. It was horrendous.
Fucking hell.
But, yeah, man, that was a good tour.
Fucking hell. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Bushmasters, which are the trucks we're talking of, they have a steep V-shaped hull on them. Yep. And as far as I know, the design of the bins on the side and the wheels and all the suspension is actually made to blow off under like extreme pressure. So if a wheel goes over it, like you said, although that guy's standing on the gun on top of the wheel, basically, like you actually stand on the seat at the back on the gun, all the force of the explosion is pushed out, path of least resistance is actually pushed out away from the vehicle on an angle, and all the wheel and fucking everything will blow off with it. And that's what fucking saves lives.
It is, man. Like, there's a big V underneath it, and then the blast goes up, gets channeled, then it hits the bin and the wheel. The wheel and the bins are designed to absorb a certain amount of energy. And once that energy capacity is reached, then they blow off, and they pretty much try to dampen the amount of force going through the vehicle to keep us alive. And it kept us alive over and over and over again. We got one bloke, one of our drivers, his name is Jimmy Bang Bang, because he hit 2 IEDs, man. Blew up twice. Just a poor bloke. He copped it pretty bad.
Jesus. I'm not driving with him.
That was pretty funny.
Fuck that. So this is all on your first trip?
This is just our first trip, man. And then, that trip, I remember founding my first IED. I don't know if you want to go into all this.
Yeah, we want to go. Yeah, we want to know.
Yeah,
we have time. I'm not getting up for work in the morning. It was a Friday. We're good.
All right. So my first IED. So we were on this. We had parked up in this vehicle drop off. So we parked up for the night. It's where we were camping for the night. And the next morning, this call comes in through to the Alpha of the Commandos.
Yeah,
and pretty much in paraphrasing in short, it's pretty much saying, would you guys mind clearing Route Monkey for us?
Yeah.
And our Alpha's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Our engineers would clear it. Now, for those who don't know, Route Monkey is like an IED highway. The Americans were asked to clear it. They refused. Yeah. The Brits were asked to clear it. They refused. The Dutch were asked to clear it. They refused. And then here's our Alpha going, yeah, don't worry about it. Our boys will do it. Imagine 8 kilometers using you got a 30 centimeter head which is the width of your metal detector, and you're trying to clear 8 kilometers of road, of highway, dirt highway. The longest day ever. And I remember we got to this bridge, little concrete culvert bridge, and I was the lead searcher, so I was the furthest guy out, like pretty much leading the charge at this stage, going over this bridge. Now, obviously, going over like a concrete bridge, there's a lot of reinforcement in it, a lot of metal in it. So as soon as I got near the bridge, there's a woo, 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 the metal detector,
of course,
squealing and just yelling and doing its thing, like you'd see like a dude fossicking for gold. And you couldn't put your metal detector down because obviously all the metal in it. And so we got to the other side of the bridge, and there was no defined line where the concrete stopped and the dirt started. And so I'm going every now and putting my metal detector down, woo, 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 and you're like, oh God, you're trying to decipher like what to check, what not to check. Am I wasting my time? Do I keep going? And then I got down my knee a couple of times, slid my hand just to make sure. I was like, yeah, not all clear. Used my little gaff hook, which is like a little garden rake thing, like you get from Bunnings, like probably like 15 centimeters long, little trowel looking rake thing.
And what do you do with that? You just dig through the dirt?
That was my IED tool of choice.
Yeah, nice.
$15 Bunnings special, mate. That I picture the 3-fork prong thing. That Now cut 2 of those prongs off. I've still got it at home. It is my most prized possession I got.
Yeah.
And I got down at the end. And it's this faint little whimmer, and I was like, I got down my knee again. I slid my hand in on the dirt, and then suddenly it just disappeared.
So what are you trying to feel for the dirt? You're trying to feel a soft spot in the dirt?
Yeah. So
where it's been dug up and replaced, is it?
Yeah, so where an IED's been buried, usually the earth will be a lot softer because obviously you don't want to pack down, whereas a switch or something, you don't want to pack it down. You might set it off yourself. So you're looking for looser dirt. You're looking for disturbed. So any sort of disturbance where the dirt coloration is different to the dirt around it.
Yeah.
And it could be very subtle, but that's our job, trained to see that disturbance. If there's a rock that's been flipped up that shouldn't be flipped up, and the dirt's on the bottom of the rock and it's facing up, you start asking questions why. All sorts of little cues that you sort of look to see, and then my hand just sort of disappeared, and then find a little plastic bottle, and then you depress it when you start, and you hear that as a Coke bottle or something crackles in. Now all of a sudden as my hand slipped in, it suddenly hit this Coke bottle, and you hear the plastic just crumple under my fingers. It's like, dude, I just freaking froze. We hadn't found an ID. This is literally like the first experience we've had. My hand sort of just stops, and I'm like, oh God. I'm like, because you don't know what it is, but you can hear the crunkling of it. And then as my hand slowly pulls out, you hear as the plastic bottle retakes shape and blows back out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh gosh. And it slowly pulled back out. And I remember just slightly uncovering it. And it was a Coke bottle upside down with a nail going through the top and a little copper plate running horizontal in the Coke bottle.
So I'm guessing that nail's in there to make a circuit?
Yeah.
Or to short it out?
Yeah. So the nail, so you got a wire coming into that nail, like the positive, and then you got a plate at the bottom that goes off to the negative. And all that needs to happen is that nail has to go just touch each other. Yeah. And then you'll complete the circuit and the IED will explode. So it turns out, so I got the EOD, the explosive EOD tech, the explosive ordnance disposal technician. He's like, you guys seen the Hurt Locker, the bomb suit dude, him, but without the bomb suit. Like, John's just, don't worry about the bomb suit, that stuff's too slow. Imagine doing it all just clean skin, like just in your clothes. And he sorted it out, and then we ended up, he goes, oh, Bolts, check out your switch. And I have a look at it. There was, where that nail went down and where that copper plate was, there was a 2 mil gap.
Jesus.
And because when I came in, I hit the Coke bottle, it kicked it out sideways instead of coming, and that's why we always taught to go side on, not top down, because all it needed was probably like 100 grams of pressure, and that would have completed the circuit. But because I came in sideways, I'm still here. I was attached to 20 kilos.
I was going to ask what it was attached to, yeah.
Yeah, 20 kilos of homemade explosive. So went up. It was a pretty good explosion, pretty good bang.
Yeah, so you dead it in.
Yeah,
in
we
place.
did it. Yeah, and then that just kicked off a chain of just next one after the next one and the next one, the next one. We found about 5 or 6 that day.
The same day.
Yeah, it was a pretty average day. My mate almost stepped on a PMN, which is like an anti-personnel mine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We found the PMN, and it was on the verge of the road that we're walking on. And he's, I call up on the radio to the commandos. I was like, "Oh, guys, make sure you stay off the road, stay off the verge, because we just found a PMN, like an anti-personnel mine. It's like the stuff you sort of hear about from Vietnam, and here we are in Afghan dealing with the same stuff." And they're like, "No worries, it's PMN." And we went to blow it up, and little did we know, we were expecting like 600 grams of explosive to explode. It's like, that's what we're expecting.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like 20 kilos just goes up, and then the commandos are like, "Oh, that didn't sound like a PMN, mate." So I was like, "Yeah, sorry, boys."
And was that just like an initiation device for something bigger, was it?
Yeah. So they'd step on that. That would set off the chain reaction, which would eventually. So that therefore required no electrical circuitry. Doesn't require a battery pack. Because the PMN, the way the PMN works, it's self-contained. That would have detonated the detonator cord, which would have detonated the explosive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just keeps going, one after the other, after the other, after the other.
Fucking hell.
Nearly 20 or so.
Long fucking day, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long tour, man.
I have to ask, because you said before about the bomb suits, like the techs wear. What is because I've often thought with that, I'm like, is it really doing much or just holding your body together?
They are good if you're dealing with maybe up to about a few kilos, 3 or so kilos. Don't ask me the stats. I don't know the stats or the specs, as they say. But they can take a blast up to a few kilos because the way that actually work, you might lose your hands and all that, because you still got to be able to use your fingers.
Yeah.
So you'll probably lose your hands and all that actually if you're standing next to it and it detonated. However, they're actually designed that each seam, as they go up, it keeps deflecting. The blast wave can't go in to the suit. It keeps getting deflected off you.
Okay.
And so the mitts join on over the top of the arm guard.
Yeah.
And so the blast deflects over it, and it keeps deflecting and deflects up off your head.
Okay.
So they do a really good, I wouldn't really know. I'm guessing they do a really good job up to couple kilos or whatever like that. But, mate, bomb suit or not, I ain't standing next to a couple kilos when that goes off. Like, that'll still do a fair whack of damage.
Oh, fucking no. Yeah. So I might just lose your hands. I'm good to not. I'm fucking solid not to lose a hand.
Man, no, I'm pretty chuffed with my hands. So.
Yeah, fucking. I think most people are.
Yeah.
And how was the rest of that tour? Of your first one?
Couple other little experiences. One of my mates was fell unconscious after an IED strike. That was pretty scary. From toxic smoke inhalation, we believe it was from. Then we ended up, a small team of us ended up staying back and staying over the winter, supporting the commandos, the Choco commandos, who came in over the winter. Now, by then, we'd been there for like 6 months. We'd found, I don't know how many by then. And then these other commandos come in, and they're like pretty much trying to tell us how to do business and what we're doing wrong and all this sort of stuff. And we're like, what? I'm like, we have just dealt with a 400% spike in IED warfare, in these hidden bombs, finding these bombs. And now suddenly we're getting told that we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We hit like another 4 with those guys. No, another 2 with those guys in the space of like 6 weeks. Because we drove over this dude's property. They paid him some money. And then we drove back over the exact same route 9 days later. I was like, that is like walking up. You are asking to get blown up.
It's like 101.
And so we did.
Yeah.
The vehicle behind me exploded. And the guy got paid for blowing us up too. I'm like, this is just too funny.
Mate, that guy's got entrepreneur and he's fucking he's going to buy an entrepreneur. He's got a Tesla.
Oh god.
And vapes.
Yeah. And then I also went out on a 3-day op because we're on this one op. It was a 3-day op. It was middle of winter. And we were flying in on Black Hawks for this 3-day op. And we had a 130 kilo weight restriction to get on for the altitude for the Black Hawks.
Yeah. So you and your gear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now me alone, I'm 6'5". I weighed about 107 kilos.
So you've got no boots on.
And then rifle, body armor, and metal detector. That's 30 kilos. So now I'm 137 kilos. Then I got a backpack full of explosives, biometric equipment, lab search testing equipment for gun residues and all that sort of stuff. And then you got food and water. I went on a 3-day mission because I was overburdened. I was 150 something kilos, and I had to have only 130. I had to go out there on a 3-day mission with 2 liters of water and 4 protein bars.
Solid.
Yeah, it was pretty average. But
Yeah.
this is where I have a profound respect for Afghanis and all that, because they fed me for 2 days. They went out of their way to cook me food. And this is where you hear all the hate stuff and all. I'm like, dude, they are some of the nicest people you ever meet. They'll literally do whatever they can to help you, even though we're in their country and all that and doing all this, but they'll still help you. And they fed me for 2 days, and I'll never forget that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh?
Yeah.
You're sort of in a weird environment.
It is a very strange environment.
Respect them.
Some hate
so
you,
much.
some like you. It's just like, yeah, you got to, I don't know, pick what message you want to listen to, and just, you got to. Yeah, it's a complicated environment over there, I can tell you.
It is, yeah. Sort of, you have to have almost your own objective view of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Some may have done this, but yeah. And I think that line gets blurred significantly between units and jobs. And
it does very much so.
But I almost think, and this is sort of my bias, isn't it, that the more frontline units have almost a greater respect. So you look at your East and West, like your SAS commandos, your SOA guys, and your grunts, and your engineers, that sort of real frontline combat troops, they tend to almost have, I'd almost say, the most respect, because they're sort of integrated so much more. You're not hearing myths and legends come back. It's you and an Afghani talking and them feeding you.
Yeah.
Where if you're sitting back in Australia or you're sitting back in a fob, it's probably pretty easy to go, these fucking whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. You don't know any different because we are taught that they are our enemy. They are someone that we'll never meet. They are a political enemy, but we are taught that we do not like them. That is our job, to not see the grey, not see the colour, but to look only black and white and make a decision based upon what our society or politics tells us as right and wrong, per se. And then we are, at a very young age, asked to defy everything that we're brought up to believe, our traditions, our beliefs, everything that we'll be brought up to believe by our parents about what is good and what is right. And you're asked to defy that in an instant. And you have no choice but to defy it, because if you don't defy it, you're potentially putting the lives of your mates at risk. And then you've got to deal with the consequences of defying who you are and your own character later on. Yeah. Doesn't always happen in that very moment, but it will, for many people, it catches up with her.
And do you think with your experience and shit, your definition of who you are has changed and sculpted?
I don't recognise. There's two different people.
Mm.
The guy who joined up and did all the tours and all that sort of stuff to the guy I am now, they're two very different kettle of fish. I spent many years, some people would call it, I don't know, soul searching.
Mm.
Dude, honestly, I was just looking for me.
Mm.
That's it. You don't, where, especially with trauma, it shatters the very foundations of who you are. And where you come to a point where you look into a mirror and you don't even recognize a man. You resemble the shell of a man you once knew, but the man underneath is no longer you, man. And yeah, then for me, I was just jumping ahead here. Yeah, discharged from the army and pretty much told to go fend for yourself now, mate. Try to make sense of this new world.
Yeah. Before we jump too heavily into this, because this is the most important thing. No, it's great. But probably the biggest thing we're going to get into with this podcast is your sort of life after service, as far as dealing with mental, physical struggles.
Yes.
And I guess almost to a spiritual struggle as well of who am I? Because I almost think, and some might disagree with this, but a lot of mental health issues actually come down to you're not defining yourself well. You're lost more than depressed.
Yep.
So you're not upset. You just don't know where you fit into a place, and that's making you upset. I think
that's definitely a huge portion of it. Where purpose.
Yeah.
What is it that you live for?
Fucking oath. And that's where I lost my last podcast. I did number 18. I actually had my psychologist on to help me out when I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
He specialises in cancer psychology.
Yep.
And he's clinical psych. And probably his biggest thing is people lose purpose when they're diagnosed.
Yep.
Because it's like, oh, you're given this many years. And it's what's the fucking point? Oh, no, man. The biggest one I went through was when I was, you get a couple of good years. I'm like, the funniest thing I did was I stopped for like 2 months. I stopped brushing my teeth because I'm like, well, you only really clean your teeth. So when you're 50, you've got teeth. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking, why the fuck's the point of this? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, man.
And it's a funny one. People do that shit.
100%.
It's fucking easy to do.
Yeah.
But we will go there. But the one story I want to know, because I told a fucking
excited.
hasty version today at work, and it was definitely a bit of a bullshit. I was like, this guy's on the podcast, whatever.
Yep.
It's a bit of a lid. High PM keys, the whole deal, yeah. No, was the story about yourself rolling in on a night op with the 2nd Commando Regiment, and then ending up lying on a night. You know the one.
Yeah, I know the one.
This is the story I want to hear, because I think
story I'll never forget, mate.
It's one of the best sort of worries of like, fuck that.
Wow. Yeah. So second tour turned out to be far rougher than my first.
Yeah.
And then we had this job. I was on Overwatch position, and we got to this this top of this hill. Now imagine it's about 2 a.m. It's about -10. Your water bottles like snap frozen in your pocket. And you're standing on top of this hill, and stretched out before you see on top of this hill is this huge trench system. Just black trench just running across this hill. Everything, as you look around you, everything's shades of green and black through the lenses of your night vision. And then your orders comes flying through to your head, and you're like, you remember in the orders group, they're like, Nathan, there are IEDs in this trench. So obviously, like there are known IEDs in this trench. But then what followed that was an intelligence brief that I got, which was saying that in the province that we're at, we weren't in Aruzgan or another place. They know our TTPs, they know our procedures, they know how that they know that we use metal detectors to find their bombs buried in the ground. So here you are looking for IEDs with a metal detector for IEDs that have no metal in them. So here you are climbing into a trench with a metal detector that you know is useless. It was the longest night of my life. Climbing in, swinging a metal detector, and you're getting hits in there. You can't work out why. And you're pulling out a lot of brass casings and all that. And you're like, it turned out there was the exact same location where one of my mates was killed from SOA just 6 months earlier, or 4 months earlier.
Same trench system.
Same trench system.
Fucking hell.
Shot in the neck. He passed. And so you got all this just flooding through your mind, and you're dealing with all these brass casings, and you're going through, and the ground had actually snapped frozen nearly an inch thick. So with my little gaff hook, that little Bunnings special tool of choice that I said I use, I had to like bash through and crack the surface of the dirt to see what was underneath it. And so I'm about 2 hours into my search right now. I'm laying on my stomach, and I bashed through, and this big chunk of dirt just broke free. And I'm like, yes, capitalize this big chunk of dirt that I can, because there's a lot of ground that I can see underneath it. And in the backwards motion of pulling that chunk of dirt out, suddenly a package the size of a tissue box came flying out of the trench system about a meter in front of me.
Out of the wall?
Out of the wall, about a meter in front of me, and landed directly in front of my face. Yeah, instantly I knew what had happened. And I had just committed the biggest sin in dealing with these IEDs and disturbed it. I quickly realized that it was the battery pack staring in front of me. Man, I just froze. No training can prepare you for a moment like that. Like when you know that you've just ripped an IED out of its seating area, you know you just like, this is it. And probably about 30 seconds passed, got my bearings back. And then I saw this perfect loop of wire coming out of the battery pack and then running directly underneath me. I'd missed the pressure plate and it was somewhere underneath me. I had no idea where it was. I'd missed it. I literally, it was in that moment where I was like, this is it. Like, move and die. Like, your number's up. Like, Russian roulette gives you a 1 in 6 chance of dying. I had a 1 in 2 chance of living right now. And like, I was like, in this moment, I was like, this is it. But the thing is, it wasn't a split second. I was counting down the seconds of my life ending. But I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to move. There's nothing. I couldn't stay still. I couldn't just lay there for the rest of my days. I had to do something. And I came to a plan of attack after about 30 seconds. Felt like eternity. And I was like, well, if the pressure plate, the switch of this bomb is going to be anywhere. It's going to be centralized. And so what I did, I braced my elbows out as wide as I can in the pit. And then sort of dragged my hands out, trying to get right. I'm talking like the outer edges. Like, imagine on a vertical incline, trying to get your body out to, and then save my feet. And I managed to do this like funky push up. onto my knees.
And did you think though at that point, as when you took your weight off, were you expecting it to sort of and
Well, they don't work like that. People always think you hit the switch and then it's when your weight comes off. It doesn't work like that. The moment that connection is made, that is when the IED goes off.
Oh, Roger.
So
my experience with IEDs is behind enemy lines. When
yes, I know the one.
Clunk. He's like, sir.
That's it. Yeah. Nah, so it doesn't work like that. Pretty much the moment that's dramatic, dramatizing Hollywood. As soon as that is touched, it's game over. And got to my knees, and I remember I just turned. I can still feel the tightness of my jaw from doing it because it's so cold, and the tension in that moment I've been holding. I turned around, and I can still see. And there was 5 commandos had climbed into the trench system with me. It was sitting about a meter behind me, completely oblivious to what had just transpired, what had just happened. And I still remember as coolly as I could. I can still try to move my jaw, trying to say it to him. It all came out in sort of like a murmur. I was like, guys, I'm laying on an IED. Move away now. And through my night vision, I could just see the eyes, his jaw just drop. Obviously, I didn't have to be told twice. So that's abandoned shit, mate. Let's get the hell out of here. And they ran out. I couldn't believe they were in the trench with me. But that's the thing. That's how much trust they had in me to do my job. They actually climbed into the trench, into places I'd already cleared. And I'm like, shit. And I was like, I managed to. I was like, okay, they're out now. I was like, well, I'm gonna get. I'll try to get to my feet. So I finally managed to get to my feet, and then I managed to do like some sort of crazy commando roll out of the trench, and I stood up, and I was like, woo, that was close. And that's the thing, like I've just like almost died, and I'm shaking it off like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And expecting myself to just go, yeah, no, life is all sweet, move on, do what you need to do. And I was like, I ain't dealing with it now. It's dark. I'm going to deal with this in the daylight. I'll get a tech up there, the actual dude who deals with the exploding part of the side of it. You tell me what's worse, searching for something you don't know is there, or being the guy who has to go down there and uncover it and blow it up. Both jobs suck as much as the other. And turns out next morning, the tech came up there, did the clearance. Turns out the pressure plate was underneath my chest. So my arms are splayed like that, holding my weight up. And so the pressure plate was underneath my chest. It turns out by committing the biggest sin and dealing with and disturbing this IED and ripping that battery pack out of its seating area is the one thing that saved my life. Because it actually stopped me moving further forward.
Yeah, shuffled onto you.
All I had to do was take one more bite forward, and I would have my lower waist would have been on the switch, and I would have detonated it. But the thing is, I probably would have survived because the main charge, the actual explosive part of it, wasn't underneath me. It was underneath the 5 commandos that were sitting in the pit behind me. To myself, I failed myself that night. My job was to protect everyone from the hidden threat, and in that moment I almost got everyone killed. And I didn't hold that very lightly to myself. And for many years I buried that story. None of my closest mates ever knew about that story. It took me years to let that one out. And they're like the adrenaline that comes scours through your body every time you tell that story is just ridiculous. Like your body just comes to life. And that's the thing. That's what people understand about, like, let's say, talk about mental health right now, like what flashbacks are. People always think flashbacks are these like, oh man, I'm there, I'm reliving the moment. You know, like the Hummingbird, the Jason Statham movie, like he's in there. And the moment's like, no, right now I know I'm sitting in a room with Willy having a chat on a podcast, but right now my nervous system is reliving the moment like it did the day there.
Yeah.
Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. Rationally, in your prefrontal cortex, you know that I'm here, but every other part of my body has no idea, and it will relive that moment and the impact that living in that state of adrenaline on a constant basis is quite a has quite a detrimental effect on your well-being, put it that way. So yeah, that was that night, and then my mate stood on an IED about 2 months later. And I was one of the first responders for that. Yeah, that sucked. But you also learn hard and fast what's truly important in life.
And your friend was killed?
He wasn't killed, no. But he was always dealing with the training. He was training all the Afghan soldiers. He came out with this one mission in particular because we needed an extra engineer. And he was like, it was about 2 hours early. He goes, I ran into him on the infield. He's like, bolts. I still remember. I could still see the moment. He's like, bolts, I shouldn't be out here. Why is that, man? He's like, because that one time you break routine, it's that one time when something bad always happens. And yeah, he stood in an IED, detonated, and yeah, as he was laying there, the shrapnel wounds was lining his body. You're trying to bandage it up, trying to stop the bleeding, and yeah. And that's the thing, in his last possible moments here, he wasn't asking for, I don't know, a fancy watch, money, success, a nice car, or any of the materialistic things that so many of us hold of so much value these days now. In his last possible final moments here on this earth, he asked for two things: his mates and his family. And that's the thing, you learn what's truly important in life. That money and toys will come and go, but it is your friends and your family that will mourn for your loss. You'll be remembered by the way you made others feel and not the way you treated your toys. And that's a lesson that I'll never forget. Leave a legacy, not a Lamborghini. That's the way
I like that.
that's the way I try to describe it. So it's and yeah, it was just that tour was gunfight after gunfight. I think we killed over 200 enemy combatants on that tour. Seen a lot of death. Fat RPGs fly meters over my head, straight past our chopper. I've been pinned down by enemy gunfire from only like 100 meters away by a Taliban soldier with a machine gun twice. Classic. Well, yeah.
I like how typical Aussie soldier got pinned down. Classic. My mates take the piss. Have you seen my interview with Dan Pronk on this?
No.
So Pronky at one point goes, he's like, yeah, look, like me and the SAS guys, we moved into this like village, into this little compound, and then we were surrounded by the Taliban, but it was all right because we were like then like fighting outwards from everyone, and I'm like. Like, how fucking SAS Aussie soldier is that we were surrounded, but it was good because then we could just fire any fucking direction and it didn't matter. And I'm like, at no point is that a good situation.
Yeah, well, that's like one mission we were in. I'm an engineer. I am surrounded by 7 commandos, all with like who are trained, specialized fighting dudes.
Yeah.
If I have to shoot, shit's gone bad. By 9 a.m. this one morning, I had 30 bullets left.
Yeah.
It was a good morning.
Jesus.
But me and 2 others got pinned down on the side of this hill. Now imagine yourself hiding behind a rock no bigger than your mum's watering can.
Yeah.
And there's a little like bullet sound when they fly past your shoulders. They sound like little bees. Ricocheting off the rock in front of your face. And now knowing that you're on the side of this hill, just you and two others, and you're like, the first thing the guy goes, I'm like, guys, we got to get off this hill. And then one of the commandos takes seniority, is like, calls out to the other guys like, "Well, Reese, mate, you're up." And you hear him go, "Get fucked." And he started running down this hill, and I remember just popping my head up and looking down, and you can just hear the gunfire. This dude has got no one, because we're like, no one knew where he was at this point in time, and he's running down. You can just hear ting, 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 and you see him running down. You can see the dust is kicking at his feet. You're like, oh fuck, I'm next. And
Let's hope they run out of ammo with Reese.
And I remember picking up and started running. And it wasn't until later in that day I ran into another commando guy who could actually see the whole thing transpose, because they were down in a compound that we'd left. Mm. And he's like, "Bolts, when you came down that hill, man, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen." I was like, "What do you mean, man?" He goes, "Mate, I've never seen so many bullets being shot at one man in all my life." he goes, "We could see like the dust kicking up around you. And you can hear it. And like, no one knows. However, we all three of us got missed." I was like, "That's the nicest thing someone's ever said." But yeah, and then a few other situations always transpired that tour, and then 6 months later, 6 months of tour, finally came home. And at the time, I was seeing someone, which was pretty sweet. We met before my second tour, and I still remember when she picked me up from the airport, and she was waiting at the wrong gate. I wanted one thing when I came home, one thing only, and that was all I wanted was a hug from her. That was all I longed for. And then you see her just all like flustered and stuff because she's been waiting at the wrong gate, and I'm just standing there alone, like with like 4 A bags trying to come home from Afghan and swags and stuff. You're like, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry." And yeah, no, it was good. Came home, and it was about, we had to stay at base for about a few days for decompression. Yeah. We never got a proper decompression. Like other people go to like Europe and Germany in order to decompress and all that. We came straight home. And
see, that's changed now significantly. Yeah. What is a good thing, because we did, well, I was on the extended handover, but even me, having less time, came out of Afghan to, I believe, 8 days in AMAB in Dubai.
Yep.
Where we had psych, medical, whatever there. And then we came home into like Adelaide, and then we had, I think, like you sort of said, 2 weeks on base for decompression of rocking around in PT gear, doing whatever. Yep. And then I had my 3 monthly, 6 monthly, 12 monthly, I think, checkups.
Yep.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Which is a better way than, I think you said you never got a proper decompression.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I remember going to the psych when I was in end of my second tour. Like, when you're still over there, you do a quick psych debrief thing. And they're like, "Oh, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I've seen some shit, but it's all right."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, how you feeling?" I was like, "Yeah, no, sweet. War is war." And you just blow it off like it was nothing. Absolutely, like, and that's the thing. Like, because at the time, like, especially like trauma can sometimes take, especially PTSD per se, can take a period of time for its true onset to really show. And when you're overseas, you have so much going on, so much distraction, so much purpose. Like, you are there, a soldier fighting the fight over in Afghanistan. Like, you're living for something, and so all the other distraction, all the other things, a part of your lives sort of just like fizzle out. Doesn't really matter. And it's not until when you come home, and it was about 2 weeks when I came home, and my brothers and a mate tried to take me out for a night in town. I was at HQ.
Yeah,
the one and only.
And that's when I got PTSD. Not from the tours. The shit I did there. I say that about my Afghan. I'm like, I didn't see any bad shit on my trip. But on Rockall, that's That's when I was likely to fucking die. You saw
you get Rockall, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, we had so this is my rip off of the century.
Yep.
Is you get Rockall for any longer than I think a 6-month tour.
Sure.
I think. So I had 2 weeks off in the middle.
Yep.
But if you do a 9-month tour, you get 2 Rockalls. You meant to get a second 2 weeks off.
Really?
Me and one of my mates, good mate Trasky and Suds, because we did the extended handover, we stayed back because everything went black the day we went to hand over.
Yep.
Like all the routes went black, couldn't do them. So we stayed on for a bit to help the boys infill. Anyway, we were, I think it's 8 days off getting a second Rockall. And we would no shit, like talking about like if we lick a toilet bowl and get some diarrhea and vomiting, we could milk another 8 days out of this. And as soon as that hits, we're going to Europe.
Yeah, my man. Yeah.
See, one of my mates, he reckons the biggest gunfight he got in was on Rockall. So I was in France with him. Anyway, I'd gone off with another girl. I was somewhere in Paris.
Yep.
Anyway, he went back with this chick from a club on the Moulin Rouge.
Yep.
Anyway, this is France 2017, like mid-70s, so it's pretty rough at the time with all the immigration stuff, everything going down. Anyway, he's walking back to this chick's room with her. Next thing, this dude, all fucking gunned up, like all black, M4, everything, just fucking grabbed them and pulled them into this like side street. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, what the fuck? And this dude's like literally like, shh, like there's a raid going on. Next thing, these like fucking SUVs rock up and whoever the fucking French SF coppers are, are fucking out there, man. Gunned up, fucking everything, like kicking indoors, going in. And Griffo's there with this other operator who's just on like early warning, say. And then he looked at this dude and he's looking away and he's like, oh, yeah. And he reckons he's hooking up with this chick. And this poor copper, like a balaclava shit, went to turn around to like, oh, you good? It's like, oh, you're fucked. And then John just picked up and left. It's like, that was the most combat experience I had. It's like, my
what
boy.
A mad dog.
If we weren't live, I'd tell some
right
stories
there.
about that trip.
No, get on here, man.
Bro, we flew to Italy and then straight on Kentucky for 10 days in the Greek Islands.
Man.
It was me, Taylor, and Griffo. Anyway, my Kentucky, we will go back to your podcast, but I have to tell you the story.
Don't worry about it, man.
It ended up 23 people on my tour, and we were the only 3 dudes. There was 20 girls on our top deck tour through the Greek Islands.
Yeah.
And I tell you, if anywhere bad shit was going to go down, I deserve an infantry combat badge just from that. The most infantry shit I did while on tour was actually on Rockall. This girl, she won't listen to this podcast. I don't give a fuck. We're in I reckon we're in Mykonos in the Greek Islands at some point. I think it was Mykonos. Anyway, there's this like $100 million like Dan Bilzerian fucking yacht, and she's like, I want to go on that. And this is like 3 a.m, man, and I'm like, yeah, we're walking out this jetty, man, this chick. And I'm like, we're getting on that boat. And I'm pulling in this fucking rope. And the boat's floating in to the shore. She like steps on. Well, I must have been fucking into something. I let the fucking rope go. The boat's floated just back here. Like only like 20 meters. And I'm like, oh, I'm a bit of a fuckwit. So I'm like, don't worry, babe. I'm in the army. I've got this. I've done the ropes in the army 1,000,000 fucking times. Now, normally the ropes are 2 poles with the fucking rope between it. Yeah. Idiot. The jetty is solid and the boat is just in the water. So I'm like, I swing myself under this rope, like crawling. And I'm like, 2 things in, like, I'm fucking going down here. Next thing, I'm just in the fucking water, man. Like, I'm just like, fuck. And then I'm like inside the knee, outside the foot, up this fucking rope on the boat. Just drenched, like, yeah, I'm an operator.
Yes.
That's a bit of shit, man. Rockall's fucking sick.
Man,
I love that shit.
Honestly, dude, that's sweet.
Fuck.
That's what it's all about, man. Those stories, that is what it's all about.
That's the best thing about Army, man.
Yeah, stories.
Is that sort of shit.
Yeah. Oh, mate, some of the greatest moments. Imagine we were over in Canada for 10 days or 2 weeks. Imagine a piss trip in a small country town in northern Canada with 26 of your mates. Wow. Dude, crazy. Loose. Yeah. Imagine 26 Army guys against a pub full of cowboys, Canadian cowboys.
Yes.
Oh, dude. There were haymakers getting thrown everywhere.
Fuck.
It was a good night.
I have a good mate of mine who has, I won't say unit or name, but he ended up in Finland, way up north. And he was doing some work on his computer in a pub and had a photo of him in the military as his background, all tooled up, everything. And these dudes started talking to him in the pub, whatever. And they're like, oh, do you want to come out reindeer hunting with us? And he's like, yeah, it sounds fucking sick. Like, it's just Finland. Like, they hunt reindeer. And he's like, yeah, we're going out on snowmobiles the next, like, fucking 10 days, reindeer hunting. And he's like, fuck yeah, this is sick. End up, like, next morning, go out there with these guys tooled up, like, sort of hunting dress. But he's like, fuck, these guys are tooled. Like, they've got, like, HKs. Like, they've got, like, 417s, like, suppressed and shit. Like, these dudes are some serious fucking hunters.
Yeah. Ended
up doing this, like, 10-deer reindeer hunt with them. He thought nothing of it. They killed some reindeer, whatever. Anyway, turns out they got back and they're like, yeah, man, like, we're actually, we've finished Special Forces. We literally were, like, disguised as hunters, but we're cruising up the Russian border just to make sure nothing's coming across. And I'm like, holy fuck, that's loose.
What? And he just got tag roped in along with it? Oh, wow. That is sick.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, the boys. Imagine that.
Oh, dude.
Imagine if that went wrong, though.
Oh, no.
Australian men go, fuck. Shit.
Oh.
Fuck.
Oh, man.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Oh, it's so fucking good. So we're talking about you coming back, decompressing and then talking to your psychs.
Yep.
But yeah, you sort of didn't think much of it, I guess, at the time. That war was war.
Yeah, well, all happened at HQ, of all places, which is, for those who don't know, is a well-known pub here in Adelaide. And infamous. That no longer exists.
Oh, thank
God. And I literally, something came over me that I'd never felt before. It was an anger that I had never felt, like a pain, like something different. Like I was used to physical pain, but this was something so different, something else. And I was like, and it was so overwhelming, like so intense. It was like, felt like it was like ripping me apart from the inside out. And I didn't know what it was. Did my best to ignore it. But then at HQ, it broke free, and my girlfriend at the time, she was there with me. Thing is, I'd warned her. I was like, something happened to me after my first tour, and I'm not sure what it was, but it lasted like a week. Just let you know, just in case. She saw it instantly. Like, literally, I wanted to get into a punch on with every bloke in that pub. Everyone was having a good time, having a fun time, drinking, being complete and utter dickheads. And I'm here, like, absolute full alert, like, just looking around. Like, I was, like, full vigilant. Like, could see everything that was going on in that room. And I guess I was, like, to some degree angry at myself. I'm not having a good time like everyone else. And I literally was, like, wanting to punch every guy in the, like, an anger, like a complete uncharacteristic, like. And got into a huge fight with my brothers because they thought they'd failed me, taking me a night out on the piss with the boys. My girlfriend took me home. It was lucky I was going home the next day because between me and my brothers, they didn't take it too well. Unlike my first trip where they pretty much got me strippers and a limo, and it was like, yeah, buddy. Oh, dude, it was bad. Went back to Sydney, and my life started spiraling crazily out of control after that.
In what way?
I didn't understand what was going on. I just thought everyone was stupid. Honestly, like I was like, you start blaming everyone else. I was was mainly when I was out drinking and all that. We're trying to go out drinking, and like I had to call a mate, and it's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Angry. I was dealing with an injury on my second tour. I tore multiple ligaments in my hips during a gunfight, and I was finally diagnosed about a week after getting home. I'd torn ligaments in my hips, and I was required at 25 years of age to have bilateral hip surgery. And the first thing that he said to me was, "Nathan, what do you want to do as a new career?" I wasn't ready to hear that. I was like, "What'd you say, old man?" I was like, didn't take it too well. And then suddenly I was like, I didn't want to drag anyone else into my. I felt like I didn't want to drag anyone else into my mess. Yeah. Like I had all this hip injury going on. I was angry. I didn't know what I was angry at, but I was just angry. And then before we knew it, I'd pushed my girlfriend away. She held on for dear life, and this is where she'll always have a place in my heart because she held on, and she was my rock when I needed it the most. And it was because I pushed her away, the only reason why it all ended. She actually helped me break up with her because I was in absolute hysterics. I was confused, man. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And before I knew it, I was being left alone at my regiment because people could see something was wrong with bolts, and I got left alone. No one really bothered me. I did my own thing for nearly a year, and then I was finally discharged at the start of 2014. But that's the thing. Like, I was always that real happy, optimistic guy that everyone got along with and was like, yeah, it's bolts. Like, yeah, bolts, yeah. And no one ever could fathom something could be wrong with me. Well, neither could I. I was in complete and utter denial. There was two people. One female, she knew something was wrong. She was like, you are not yourself. You are not the Nathan that I've known for all these years. She was in the army as well. Something's wrong. Like, talk to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, yeah. And then I had one other mate who literally was like, "Boss, what's up, mate?" And I was like, "I'm good, man. I'm good." That's the thing. Like, you literally shrug everything off like it's all good. 2014 got out. And that's when things took an even bigger turn because suddenly I've lost my entire support network. I left Sydney. All my mates who lived in Sydney, I was the first one out. And now here I am alone in Adelaide, surrounded by people who don't get it. And when you're in that period of time in your life, literally you want to be around those who understand. You don't want to have to explain every finite detail. And so I battled it out for nearly a year a few months, and then was convinced to go see a psychologist. Found one. He tried to diagnose me as bipolar. Over 2 hours. He spoke for about an hour and 50 minutes. I spoke for about 10. I don't know why. I knew his entire life story.
Seems weird.
Yeah, I know. I was like, isn't that the complete contradiction of what a psychologist is meant to do?
Yeah.
And so I pretty much didn't see him again. And then in 2015, that pretty much ruined my desire to see psychiatrists. Had that one bad experience. And then in 2015, pretty much I was at a mate's wedding. And yeah. Oh, man, I was tired. I didn't know what was going on. I was exhausted, run down. And I unknowingly to everyone, I left the venue of my mate's wedding. And I found myself sitting atop these set of stairs overlooking his garden. And oh man, all I remember is peace just finally washing over me. And I was just like, sleep was all I desired, and literally to sleep forever became the most merciful thing. I was done. But I was lucky that night because I had a mate who found me. I remember him asking me, he's like, "Bolts, mate, what's wrong?" so confused. Nothing was making any sense. Like, I'd gone from this proud, confident, ambitious man, this man who'd like stood tall in the front line with like SF, a man who was awarded Soldier of the Year in 2013, voted by his peers in the regiment as the one soldier that every soldier would want to be standing alongside if shit hit the fan. Out of anyone, they chose me. And now just some 2.5 years later, I am this mess. It's like, what the hell happened? Like, I went from my thoughts that were ambitious and took me to the pinnacle of success, did nothing more now than just reinforce my own pathetic being, my own worthlessness, my fragility. That called me a liability and a burden to my mates. And I literally could no longer fathom that someone could love me. Or that even that my friends liked me, and I became ashamed of myself. That I'd like, let everybody down. And ashamed that I was just had this inability to cope with the stresses of what I'd been through. Yeah, it was for me, it was quite shameful. That night rattled me, scared the living hell out of me. And from that, I actually did manage to do one thing right, and that was I finally reached out to get help. But instead of, like, I'd seen psychs before, but I wasn't ready. Only now was I like a blank canvas, ready for a student, sitting there ready to listen and learn, and whatever they said, I was willing to take it on board and do what was required. Because in the end, like, I had to come to the realization that I was no superhero.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, like, for a soldier, you think you're like this guy that can go above and beyond the call of duty and perform heroic deeds and just walk away scot-free. But then you soon realize that, nah, you are just an ordinary man. And you're putting yourself in extraordinary circumstances where that for some of us, we're unable to deal with the consequences later on. And that's the thing, we're all just ordinary people asked to do some horrific stuff and see it. And yeah, man.
And what did your next steps from there look like? Because you've sort of had that realization, that identifying within yourself that something's wrong. You know, people started seeing it first.
Yeah.
But I think it took you a while to actually realise that, Bolts, there's something not quite right here.
You have to, and this is a thing, like, you can sit there next to a mate and watch them deteriorate, and there's nothing you can do about it apart from trying to offer them an ear. That's what I've learned. It is not until they're ready that anything can happen, because no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it's going to knock on deaf ears. Unless they're willing to take it on board, take it in and listen and grow from and actually listen. Because for so many years, I could actually rationalize my own irrationality. Like, I was so ashamed of being medically discharged. I was so ashamed of receiving a pension. I thought I was a burden to society. Like, you guys our taxpayers are paying me a wage just so I can keep a roof over my head. But I was ashamed that I'd become this way. And yeah, like, I became emotionally numb, and I was trying to get into relationships, and you're telling them that, I really like you, but I don't know what love feels like. Because that's like a black hole. It's this void.
It's easy to do, man. I've dealt with nothing close to yourself.
But struggle is struggle.
Struggle is struggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Experiences are different.
Yeah.
The struggle and the pain and the feelings that are associated with struggle that is the shared experience by
Yeah. And that, like you talk about that numbness feeling. There's a song actually by Paul Kelly where he goes in it, he goes, everything's turning to white, about dealing with death. And I think I related to that a lot because I was like, so like everything in me is, there's no color, there's no passion. Everything's just monotone now. 100%. Everything's turning to white. There's nothing.
Yep.
That passion to live, that passion to work, the passion for everything at one point was, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And it went, I think the most long-term ones I still struggle with is I ended up even eating terribly because I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, I've got so little time left.
Yeah.
Fuck.
100%.
And I think some people, I remember talking to a corporal in the army who dealt with severe PTSD, and him telling me, he's like, I know one day I'm going to kill myself from this. So I'm just trickling my days away and seeing what I can do before that happens. And I was a pretty young digger at the time. I remember being like, holy fuck, man. Now, as far as I know, he's doing a lot better actually now. But that's the feeling I can sort of relate to in a way. Is
what do you say?
Yeah.
If someone says it to you, and that's what most people shy away. They're like, what the hell do I say?
But I think in some of those situations, like you said, all you can do is offer an ear. It's not about what I said.
No.
It's that I was there with him listening. That it wasn't that day he was going to do it.
And that is the thing that most people do not understand, especially with mental health. We all believe that if someone vents to you or starts unloading their struggles to you, that you have to offer them a solution. You don't have to offer a solution. It's actually better not to offer a solution.
Yeah, fucking no.
What you're trying to do is you're allowing them a medium or a platform for them to try to make sense of the inner experience and trying to verbalize it, because we are meaning-making creatures. We all want to make meaning out of our lives. That is how we take a lot of bad things and grow and become better because of the things we've done in our past. We want to make meaning.
It's human nature, man. That's how do you think religion developed and things like that?
Yeah.
You are a caveman in a cave. You don't know what the fuck's going on. The sun's coming, the moon's coming up. There's fucking saber-tooth tigers trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I need to make meaning. I need to feel safe. I'm going to write this fucking book. I just offended half the people. But literally, man, making meaning of things is like that. And people, in my case, I think with a lot of cans go, why do I deserve this?
Yeah.
And that is a fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
It might be a bit savage to people, but asking yourself, why do I deserve this, is a waste of time, because there's no answer to that. It doesn't matter how long you think of it, you'll never come to that conclusion. And a question that has no answer, don't waste another second trying to figure it out.
See, I could never, looking where I am now, what I do these days, I can't make meaning out of certain situations. I can't make meaning what happened in that Russian fighting pit. I can't make meaning of being blown up. I can't make meaning of a lot of these war experiences, but I've made meaning out of the experience as a whole. And for me, that took over 6 years to find that meaning. It's not going to happen overnight. Yeah. But I had to constantly, and for me, I found in a psychologist that I worked really well with, and she listened.
Yeah.
She listened, and I tried to make sense of this emotional wreck, this confusion that was within me. I tried to make sense of it. And then what she would do, and that's what any listener, anyone who's engaging with someone who's unloading that, they would offer cues of, what about this?
Yeah.
Like, steer the conversation. Like, you may be able to see something really rational in your own mind, but never forget, like, what they're saying is the truth to that person.
Yeah.
As irrational as it may be to you as the individual listening on, to the person who's saying it, they wouldn't be saying it if they didn't believe it. And they may know rationally that it's wrong, but in their heart, that is what they feel, is what they believe. So never tell them you shouldn't feel that way, because that is like it's like punching someone in the face, saying you're discrediting the struggle that they're actually going through.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what I made Nathan talk about a little bit, if you're listening, I think will almost be summed up if you go watch episode 18 of this, is when I talked to a psychologist who, like you said, you went in for 2 hours and you just basically talked.
Yeah.
And they steered you. I talked with him about my initial appointments with him.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was me, literally, I'm just like, I'm just boring this guy to fucking death. I've sat here for an hour and a half telling you about fucking Afghanistan and casual sex and drinking and fucking and all this. I'm just telling you this fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And then they will give you little hints of this or that. And his big one that changed me was like, and I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I've got so little life left here. I'm not going to be able to achieve or change anything I wanted to do. Yep. All these dreams I had are never going to be fulfilled because I don't have the time. And him being like, well, have you tried to make something happen after you're gone? And I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean? And that's where this Instagramming, my podcast, my fundraising has come from to give me that meaning. Is like, well, yes, I might not be able to change anything in my whatever time frame, but that is a legacy that will stay on. And that helped me so fucking much with it's out. Like, once the fucking worst thing and the best thing with the internet is once it's out there, it's fucking there forever. But even if, I fucking died tomorrow, the helping stuff is still there. The money to fundraising is still there. And that's helped me so much find there's no meaning to my cancer. And I never will find that.
No.
But I've found almost a slight solution to that of, well, fuck this cunt. I'm going to, at least I can still be productive after I'm fucked off.
If I mention who's heard of PTSD, everyone would be like, oh yeah, no worries. I know PTSD. If I said who's heard of post-traumatic growth, how many people will put their hand up and know what that is?
With Dan Pronksy, he'd go, I keep throwing his name that he developed that term, and I told him that. I'm like, yeah. He's like, don't fucking do it. I'm like, well, too bad, man. You've claimed it.
You've claimed it. But that's the thing, and most people are not aware of post-traumatic growth. Obviously, you have a sense of well-being to begin with. You face an adversity or a stress in your life, and for a period of time, your well-being and psychological health will decrease.
Yeah.
And then it's our desire and our inherent desire to make meaning of our situation, which will go, okay, I went through this experience, and you find a means to recover from the experience that you went through.
Yeah.
That is what people do. Now, if you don't find meaning, you can't find purpose, and the stress is too big, that's where it becomes a disorder, and you're diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. However, some people actually not only are they able to recover from a negative experience within their life, but they also manage to grow from it. Like what you've done here. You've turned cancer into a platform to help others make meaning of their own struggles, their own thing. Like you are willing to share and voice your own, become a vulnerable individual, put your life on the chopping block for others to listen in, judge, critique, on the whim that they give a shit to begin with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, offer support to them so that they realize that they're not alone. And realizing that you are not alone, that for me was one of the most, pivotal moment for me to and that's why I do a lot of keynote speaking, guest speaking, and I rip my life apart in front of an audience, because I'm like, when I was alone back then, that's what I felt like. I reclused myself in my own home. No one understood me. I didn't understand myself. I was a figment of a man that I once remembered. And I was like, well, I won't let anyone feel the same way. I'll do my best in order to pass on to other people that if they're going through struggle, that life does exist after struggle. But you got to be vulnerable. You got to let that out. And it's not a pushy thing being vulnerable. It's actually one of the most masculine things. Anyone who can be true to who they are, but true to themselves, I reckon is the definition of a masculine individual.
Fucking oath. And then you talk a lot about, and we'll move on into this, about vulnerability.
Yeah.
Being such a good trait. And I believe in that the sign of a strong man is vulnerability.
Yeah. It's one of the most difficult concepts for a man. If you knew me 6 years ago, every second word was F this, see that. I was like indoctrinated into the military masculine from the mines, the oil rigs, and then the military. I knew nothing but solid male-dominated, high testosterone environments. Emotion, creativity, vulnerability, those words did not exist in my vocabulary. I told a girl that I liked her, and I was like, that was pushing me to my emotional limits, mate. I was like,
babe, I'm a romantic.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, and then through all my recovery, I delved into who I am, and I started finding all this stuff that for so many years I'd suppressed and hidden away. And then the thing is, like, when I do a keynote speech, I talk about it. Like, I literally tell people after, I'm like, if you enjoyed what I've spoken about today, you have just witnessed vulnerability firsthand, and you enjoyed it. And I'm like, it is this thing that we all enjoy, we all want to be a part of, we all want to listen to, we all want to do it, but we're afraid to do it because of what society makes us feel that as a male we can't do it. And yeah, I'm like, that's where like the strength and power of vulnerability is something that I really cherish. Because like the strength, like it takes a strong man to have the courage and the balls to let it out, and the power of what it can actually do for your well-being and your psychological state if you have the courage to do so.
And it's not easy, man. And I think the big take home from this as well is we're not saying it's easy to be vulnerable. It is fucking hard. It is against particularly males.
Yeah.
It is against every sense we have that, you know, we are still fucking cavemen. Like, we have lived 400 years as you and me now. Well, pretty much 50 years like you and me now, but 400 modern people. Yeah. And 200,000 as fucking with a stick and fucking ooh. Yeah. And vulnerability in that sense has fuck all meaning. Yeah. In a modern world, it's one of the best things we can have. Yep. It's against all our spidey senses to do it. But it's a fantastic thing.
But the feeling and what you can get out of it, like, you may walk away from a conversation. Like, I'm going to probably walk away from this conversation going, Nathan, what the fuck did you just say? You just, like, you said too much. Stop talking.
Nah, never, bro.
I'm like, but that's the thing. And that's your own insecurities coming in going, oh man, like, have I let too much out? And it's just like, when I was still in the army and I wasn't sure what was going on, I tried to confide in a mate, and I chose the wrong mate to do it. Because I remember him looking at me going like, what the hell is this? Like, what did you just say to me? Like, it was the one time I was exhausted. I had nothing. I didn't know what to do. My mind was like an ashtray. And I was like this toxic wasteland. I'm like, dude, like, this is what's going on. Like, I don't know what's going on. And he looked at me like, brr. And I never spoke about it again since. I never spoke about it for 2 years after that. Because I chose the wrong person to confide in. Yeah. And that's the thing. Not everyone is ready to be vulnerable.
No. Not at all.
But never forget that to be vulnerable, there's nothing more satisfying, nothing more fulfilling when not only are you doing, like, is life good the way you know it, but you also feel it within your heart, and you're like, the things that I'm doing, like, I truly enjoy it. Yeah. Like, you wear your heart in your sleeve and just go. There's, I don't know. For me, I like it. It's good.
Yeah, I agree. I think vulnerability we're so underprivileged. That it's a good thing, and it's not meaning being a pussy.
No,
because it's not, not vulnerability. Fucking give me rights. It's not that. It's, I'm not okay. But I think then too, it's all right for men to then be like, I am okay, and I feel good, and I see a lot of guys, and this is sort of my social media generation kicking in. Is look at a typical Aussie male's Instagram. Is a picture of them drinking piss with a mullet and then doing this, and they're in the whatever. But it's never like, no, but I look at it a lot of times and think, yeah, but you don't have a photo where you think you look, you're almost hiding behind this insecurity of, yeah, but I've got a mullet because I look stupid, so I don't have to be serious. I never have to be vulnerable because I'm just that happy-go-lucky dude.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look at it and go, yeah, but why don't you show when you think you do look good and you do look healthy? And, you know, it's not bad to think that either.
No, well, you're painting yourself up to be like, if that's the image he's portraying himself as, he will soon become. That's the famous quote from Lao Tzu, like some like 15th century BC or 15th century philosopher. Said, yeah, what we think we become. What's your thoughts? For they become words. What's your words? Because they become habits. What's your habits? Because they become your character. And what's your character? For it becomes your destiny. What we think, we become.
Yeah.
And so however you portray yourself out to society right now and the way you think, if you think that you're a worthless, low-life piece of shit, that you're just useless, then you will become that.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. Like, but if you go, I want to find success, I want to be successful, I want these certain things, and you're willing to actually put your mind to it and actually, I don't know, fake it till you make it, as they say.
Yeah.
You actually have the ability to, you can bring those generate into fruition, which is pretty cool. So.
It's important to do, I think. Yeah. You know, being vulnerable to some criticism is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You're putting yourself out there, you're having an opinion. You know, a lot of people try and do this whole sort of like, I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm dodging all these bullshit. But you're like, well, no, you will piss some people off on your path. It's all right. You can do that.
Yeah. And if someone's toxic to your, if someone like brings you down, like, you got to sometimes you got to find when you draw that line and go like, this person is not benefiting my life, my situation, where I'm at, and what I actually want to fulfill. And sometimes you have to make the tough choices and actually cut people away in order to become the version of you that you want to be.
Yeah, man, I lost a lot of friends to diagnosis. People that I'm just like, you fuck off.
Yeah, man.
Jordan Peterson, the psychologist, does a talk about who are true friends. And I encourage anyone to look it up because I'll do a fucking shit explanation. But it boils down to true friends are the ones who can enjoy happiness with you. But they enjoy your happiness with you, that you're happy, like, you know, Nath, you're happy and I'm happy for you.
Yes.
I'm not trying to better you. But if you're upset, I'm upset with you. Your roller coaster emotions, we intertwined with each other. And that's how you find true friends, where you'll see some people, you'll go, oh yeah, Willy, I've struggled. I'm struggling with my missus. And then some people will try, I'm struggling with this. Like to big dog you almost. And it's like, well, you're not a true friend. Jordan has a couple of minute talk on it. You'll be able to find it on YouTube. And it's really good because you can sort of look over your life and go, fuck, this person are fucking toxic. And bro, the toxic people, no shit, take it from me, someone with a condition like mine, you do not fucking have time for toxic cunts in your fucking life. Yeah. Like the stress, the bullshit is not worth it. I remember and I haven't talked to her since. Yeah. This girl, it was like 2 months after diagnosis. I mean, I was fucked, and I literally messaged like reaching out for help, and I got back like, oh, you just can't let cancer just define who you are and be upset about this shit. And maybe like, I'm literally being vulnerable enough to reach out to you because I trust you at this.
Yep.
And you've turned around and been like, it's defining you, it's doing this. I'm like, no, it's not defining me. This motherfucker's killing me. Like, that's the difference. And I was like, sweet, fuck you. Yeah. Block on every platform. And I'm like, happy-go-lucky, I'm on my way. And I think some people, though, that is important. If you need to cut someone away, fuck it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We all have so much cognitive resources that we have within like any given day. And this is the thing. When I say something like toxic energy or energy, I ain't talking about the spiritual crap. I'm talking about the amount of...
Oh, I've got these crystals.
amount of like cognitive resources that we have in any given day that can only deal with so much. And I'm like, if people suck the life out of you, means you are throwing away so much of the energy that you have within any given day to someone who's just stealing it from it. They're thieves.
Yeah. Fucking no.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Nah. Just be around people where you build them up and they build you up also. And it's like you're saying that the true mateship, whatever you called it before Jordan. Like it should be a to and fro intertwined sort of relationship where it's a give and take. It's balance in the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you need to be with people that challenge you, people that make you want to grow.
Yeah.
It's fucking important. And I think, that's the reason I originally started this podcast, man, was people like yourself and Pronky and Charlie Teo and all these incredible people came into my life through chance of my diagnosis.
Yep.
And I think stories like this need to be told almost because I think it's an incredible sort of thing that I'm like, well, these are incredible people. It's not soldier related. It's not doctor related. These are people in society who honestly want the best for everyone else.
Yes.
That, we may have strong political views on things, but at the end of the day, we want best what's for people. I remember I was talking with a guy who was fanatical on one side. But the funny thing was we came to a conclusion that we want the same things. Yeah. The way we get there is different. But I think everyone can agree, no matter where you are, looking after yourself, your mates, it's fucking important.
It is.
And to reflect on your own existence occasionally.
Oh, man, it's everything. Yeah. We are social creatures. We want to connect with people. We want to have people in our corner that we can rely on and trust. But who we bring into that corner.
We spend more time alone now than we ever have as human beings.
Yeah,
ever.
In a more connected world than ever.
Exactly. We are the most connected, lonely people in the world. I've got, but we are
such a good statement.
You can go on your social media and connect with the world at a time.
Yeah.
Yet we spend the most amount of time alone.
Yeah.
Than any humans have ever done.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the more you follow, I'm not sure if you've read the book. I hope you have. It's called Tribe by Sebastian Junger.
I have read it, actually. Yeah.
And you look at the levels of sort of loneliness and mental health, depression, actually follow the exact same sort of rate of going up. That the more you're alone, the worse you will be.
Yeah, well, we don't want to be alone. Like you're suffering in silence. Like you got, you believe that no one likes you. You believe that you have nothing to offer anyone else.
Yeah, you're not worth anything.
Yeah, you're not worth anything. It's a sense of self-evaluation. If you don't believe you're worth anything, then hey, you've pretty much lost your reason to live. There was a period of about 2-3 years where I would wake up every morning for none other reason than to go to bed that night.
Yeah.
Like I had no purpose in life. I'd find myself just having to stare at like a leaf blowing in the wind, trying to avoid the stimuli in my mind. And I was just like, it was a very challenging period of time. It's not a mild case of the blues, as some people may call it. It's far more than it. It's quite a, it's like the best analogy I've ever heard to describe it was, let's say depression, for example. It's like waking up every day and going to your mum's funeral. It's a day that no one ever wants to go through, a day we all want to forget. Now imagine every day is that.
Yeah.
It's a long, dark road. Yeah, man. But it doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And searching for that help, self-evaluating and being prepared to then improve things too. Yeah. I think that's a big problem with a lot of guys is they fall into this victimhood level that, the whole "are you okay" thing of it's okay not to be okay, and 100% it's fine not to be okay. It is.
Yeah.
No one's against that, but it's also okay to get better again.
That is a big one, man.
Yeah.
And that's where falling victim to labels is devastating on our own psyche and who we are as a person. Like, because in the end, suddenly, let's say, like, you're having a bad day. Well, it's okay. I've got depression. I'm allowed to have a bad day. What you're doing, you're actually giving you're giving yourself an excuse to stay in that bad state. You're not going, oh, I'm not verbalizing it correctly.
You're victimizing yourself
from recovery.
Yeah, you're making this bullshit excuse.
You're making an excuse to stay in a really toxic state instead of
you're not doing it because you're depression, but your depression's not letting you do it, and you're just caught in this violent loop. I can't do it because of that, and that's not allowing me to be me. And at some point, you need to break that fucking vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's not a good place to be. And they talk about this with veterans, and this is a sensitive topic because it is weird. We touched on before with particularly pensions.
Yep.
Now, I'm not dissing the pension. I'm not saying anything if it's right or wrong, but with guys with long-term severe PTSD and depression, anxiety, everything comes with it. They talk of sometimes a full pension for the rest of their life is giving them the victimhood of themselves. So it's saying, it's like the army or DVA stepping back and going, we've fucked you up that much. You can never get a job. You can never be successful. You can never do anything. So here's your full salary for the rest of your life, trying to kill yourself and stepping away.
Yeah.
And
in a nutshell, in a very simplistic form, but yes.
But at the simplest form, that we've done this to you, here's your sanction so you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And I know Sebastian would say, and it is a very hard teetering point because, well, some guys can't.
Yeah.
But then there's people that you think, well, maybe you could if you needed to.
Yeah.
But because you're so comfortable, because you are collecting that paycheck every second Thursday, that there's never a need to come out of that circle because that's where you're comfortable. It's almost a higher power of yourself has just gone, you're too bad to do anything.
Yeah. Your full-time job becomes justifying your victimhood.
Yeah.
DVA, like you got to justify it constantly. And so that becomes your job, is justifying injuries, which keeps you in that toxic state of constantly reminding yourselves that you are broken instead of, I've got some issues, but I can get better. You're constantly bombarding yourself with just this is what's wrong with me. This is why you need to keep giving me money, blah, 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 blah. And it becomes a full-time job from DVA. And so instead of going, okay, here's your pension, blah, blah, blah. Now I want you to go out and when you're ready, go get a job. Try it. Do something. Do whatever you want. Instead of asking them every 3 months or something to come back and get certificates and all that. But that's where they could do it differently. And that's where there's the whole big productivity commission or the big reform on the Department of Veteran Affairs came out like in the end is saying how the actual DVA system is actually a huge problem in regards to veteran mental health and well-being. Because in the end it causes more stress, more angst, more anxiety than probably war itself. Or it just adds an added level of pressure. And obviously financial concern there's a lot of studies that come out that says financial concern is a big ticket item when it comes to mental health, well-being issues. So I guess, it's a fine line.
It's such a fine line.
It's such a hard one because I know I would have lost my house. I could not work. I've tried numerous jobs. I got into real estate for a while. I got about 4 or 5 months in. Before I knew it, I was drinking half a bottle of red before work. I wasn't coping. I was trying to drown it. It was by 8 o'clock in the morning. And then tried to do carpentry and I couldn't do it. I cannot do what I once could. I can't deal with stress like I once could. I get overwhelmed very easily. Anxiety. I have horrendous days. Yesterday, I couldn't function. Couldn't put pen to paper, couldn't focus, can't do anything. I literally just had to ride out the day until it was over. And hopefully tomorrow I wake up better than yesterday. But it's about now realizing that I got limitations, I got limits, and I don't push myself. If I'm having one of those bad days, allow myself to have those bad days, knowing that there is always tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's important.
Yeah.
That there is always a tomorrow.
Yeah.
That today might not be going right, but Let's strap in for that next one, eh?
You never know. Sleep has an amazing ability to let the pain of yesterday go.
Yeah.
That's see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
I
think it's fucking important.
yeah.
Well, I think on that we might wrap that up.
Sure.
Is there anything we haven't been over that you want to go over?
Nah, man. Nah, it's the only thing I got is obviously plug what I do.
Plug. Go. I'll just mute your fucking.
They actually just muted me.
Yeah, imagine that.
But because at the moment, right now, like I do a lot of keynote speaking. I talk at corporate events, school events, and all that sort of stuff. I pretty much rip my own life apart, like I did today, to help others see the true strength and power of vulnerability. Because in the end, I do it because for so many people, once you've dealt with trauma, once you've struggled, and once you've managed to find your way out, you want to let it go. You want to move on and let that trauma be done. But for me, I'm well aware that when I was in the heart of that pain, heart of that struggle, all I wished was someone stood there and told me that I wasn't alone. And so now although I've managed to fight through a lot of my demons, I keep entering back into that world and hurting myself for none other than to make sure others have a chance to have what I always wanted. So do that. And we're also creating a documentary on sidecar racing, which is pretty epic. Sidecar off-road racing enduro sidecars. We've got like the world at the moment, the way that it all stands, we've got the world champions of sidecar racing from Europe coming over to Adelaide next year to compete against our homegrown locals in an event called the 24-hour trial. It's pretty much imagine racing off-road on an enduro bike for 24 hours straight. It is hell. So if you want to follow any of the things that we're doing and what we're up to, my brother and I, Bolton Brothers Entertainment, you'll find us on Facebook. Love to keep you on point with our journey, and
So it's Bolton Brothers Entertainment. I can't spell. I'm typing it in here because I've had some people be like in the chat, do you have a link of where they can find you for?
Well, you're actually talking to people right now.
Yeah, so we have got 42 people watching involved in
Are you serious?
in the chat. Yeah, and we bumped up. I don't know how many we actually had at some point, but I know I looked at one point we're at like 80 people watching you talk shit live. I don't know why, but we're at 80 people watching live. At the moment we're 42, and they were like, "Oh, have you got a fucking link for your shit?" But they'll find if they go Bolton Brothers Entertainment.
Yeah. They'll find it. We whenever we do stuff, we post it up there, and because this documentary is really about to kick off, this is like a proper doco. It's a really exciting year ahead, so we'd love to keep everyone posted on the progression of that. Dude, it's been awesome.
Fucking A, bro. It's always a good chat.
Yeah.
It's been a while in the works.
Yeah,
it's been probably 4 or 5 months we've been
I
talking shit about fucking doing this. We finally got there, had a bit of a laugh, a bit of fucking serious action, and that's how you do a podcast.
Yeah, pretty sure. We went a few rants in there, guys. So apologise for that.
No, the rant's good, I think. But I think some people
off in the distance somewhere.
We've had thanks Pestillies. One of the boys has just posted your link for it up in the chat anyway. He posted it 8 times.
What a mad dog.
He's actually an ex corporal from the army.
Is he?
He's now full time on this platform.
Oh man.
Anyway, he posted up, so that's there. And then Luke Adamson is in here talking shit. He's just been talking fucking shit. Yeah, Luke's here under Heroes.
What is he doing on there?
Bro, he comes on every single one of them. He's now bagging you out because he was episode 1.
Log off,
man. And he's just been going. He's like, episode's one better. Fucking combat engineers just talking shit continuously.
Take Yowie with you, mate.
Fucking Yowie. Shit.
Oh wow.
Fuck. Well, look, everyone, particularly those live, we've averaged well over 50 live, which is fucking good. So thank you all, everyone live. If you're watching this on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and the Apple iTunes Podcast app, whatever the fuck it is. So, look, thank you so much for joining in, everyone. We love this. And Nath, we can't thank you enough, man, for coming on. It's
thanks, man.
It's been a pleasure for 2 hours and 4 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's 2 hours. Well, we've been live for 2 hours and 7, but we started about 2 minutes in.
2 hours you never get back.
Nah, fucking A. So thank you so much, man. It's always great, particularly having another veteran in. It's fucking awesome. So I can't thank you enough, man, and thank you from everyone out there for putting across, your own involvement. I know coming on this talking shit like this isn't that. It's not easy, man, to talk about some of it.
It's
you can see, it's particularly if you're listening to this, if you watch, you can see where it is hard for you to chat about it. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on to.
No,
thanks for
the opportunity, mate. No, it's a pleasure. So
bro, anytime.
bro.
So again, out there, this was episode 20 with Nathan Bolton. Almost forgot your name there. So in the next coming up episodes, I've got another psychologist on next week. I've got a Medal of Honor recipient coming up. Yeah, that one won't be live purely because I don't want the CIA banging on my door. But yeah, it should go really well. So again, thanks for supporting the show, as always. So cheers, guys. And thanks, Nath.
Thanks, mate.
We'll stop at some point.